Enlightened World Network, Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Sue Broome for messages from our loved ones. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to let Sue share out here a little bit, and we'll get all set up on Restream. How this works is that Sue and I we talk about things that have to do with transition and passing away, passing on, and all of the aspects of death, but at the same time, we're also sharing with you. And if you are interested in receiving a message from a loved one who has passed on and you'd like to just kind of check in with their energy, let us know in the chat. And then we take a look at that. Sue brings up her cards that she has made for this very purpose. And she shares with us that card, and then we talk about the energy of your loved one. So thank you for being here, and let's get things set up on Restream so we can find them here. Sue Broome, how are you today?
I am doing just lovely, Miss Ruth. And I'm glad to see you have the background that looks. Yours is like this, but it's
yes.
It's funny that it's that background. Yes. So how are you doing today on this lovely Monday?
You know, today is 22 years from 9/11.
It is.
It is. So I think there may be some folks that are feeling 9/11-ish, feeling some things today. So I'm trying to get to my chat and it's saying no internet, which makes no sense because we're on the internet. What do I do with that?
I was listening to a couple different programs where they were going through the names. They do that every year where they go through the names of the people and they have a bell and it's like, well, and then people would come up on the street and so they'd ask them, where were you and who did you know and all that. And so I've cried off and on several times today. So yes, I'm sure a lot of people are feeling 9/11-ish, as you said.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting, Sue. So it just says no internet on Restream.
Can you refresh it? Or does that really kind of blow it away?
I think it might blow us out of the water here. What do you think?
Because I know that sometimes you can see, I know Restream, I think, shows all of the people. Could it be because there's another live going on Enlightened World right now?
Which is what?
So I went to Enlightened World and there's 10 million for world peace. Could it be because that is going live right now too?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because they were on a different Restream.
Got it.
So that I don't know. So I guess the only option is checking on Enlightened World on this to see if we get comments on that. So I have to read off my phone.
Yeah. I have it on, I only shared it on my personal page. So I'll keep an eye on that.
Yes.
But sometimes not all the messages show up over there either though. So, but I will keep an eye.
Okay. So I guess, well, no, I don't want to hear it. No, I can't do it that way. Well, because I can't look at it on my phone because it won't stop talking. Let me turn it down and see if I
You
can.
pull it up on a different tab. on your computer. And just don't, because I find if I don't click on it, it doesn't start talking, you know what I mean?
Yes. Let me just type this message. Okay, well, we're in trouble. Yeah, we're in trouble. There we go. Okay, I still can't see it on Restream, but I can see it on my phone. All right. So it's an interesting time. We're sharing about loved ones that have passed over. I lost a friend just 2 weeks ago today, and her name was Jeannie. And it was really interesting for me because when I've had other loved ones pass over, Spirit has been very clear with me about you need to be there for them. And this time that message never came. And actually, she passed while I was out of town. So I couldn't have even been there. But it was interesting for me because I was trying to figure out what's my involvement in this. While she was alive, we would talk about what it would be like passing away, what it was like in the ethereal realm, who might be there to meet her, that kind of thing. And so we were very comfortable having that level of conversation. But it was interesting. It wasn't for me to be there with her at the end. And I was struggling with that the other day. And she came to me with a message, which was that if I had been there at the end with her, other people wouldn't have been. And it was very important for those other people to have that time with her at the end. It wasn't my place to be there. There was their place to be there. So I felt a lot better about that once she had given me that message.
That's really interesting because you don't think about that you spending time with her might, other people might feel like, oh, Ruth is with her, I want to give them time. And then they might not have the time. Wow. I will say, though, I think that the time that you did spend with her and the conversations that you had helped prepare her more than, and I'm getting such chills on that, more than you will ever realize, I think, Ruth. It's like you helped pave the way, and maybe not paving the way, but helped make it go a little bit smoother, so she maybe wasn't afraid, or she was at least able, voiced some things to you that she might not have been able to talk with anybody else.
I do not believe she was afraid. Yeah. And then what was even more interesting, so I just checked in with her after she had passed, like the day after. And I thought, oh, she's going to be cocooning. They're going to be working with her. I'm not going to be able to feel her. She had a full-blown conversation with me. And I typed it all out. And it was typical in Spirit. I typed it all out and it was gone out of my head. Like I couldn't recreate it later, which is so often what happens to me when I get a spiritual message. But what she had shared with me was about her passing, because they found her on the floor in her apartment and she was already gone. Well, what she shared with me was exactly how it laid out what had happened. She had been in the hospital for several days and then came home and shouldn't have come home. And friends and the nurse tried to get her to go back to the hospital, and she said no, she wasn't going to go. And then a couple days later, she was found on the floor, already passed. What she showed me was why she was where she was on the floor, what had happened that morning. And one of our friends had shown up to spend some time with her, and the police were already there. And so, of course, she panicked. Well, my friend went and sat with her. And my friend Jeannie showed me what she saw from her vantage place, looking down. And she saw my friend there holding her hand, stroking the back of her head. She told me the conversations that were happening there. And she didn't die alone. My friend was there. She wasn't in her body at the time, but she was there observing. She didn't die alone. And that meant a great deal to us to know she didn't die alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful that she came to you and that you were able to get all of that information, and just it gives you a peace of mind, but I'm sure it gives other people, peace of mind as well. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. So Kate Stormer is on with us.
I know Kate. Hi, Kate.
Oh, do you know Kate? Kate is wanting to hear from Dorothy Stormer.
Pretty sure if it's the Kate I knew from way back. Like in corporate days.
Another lifetime ago.
It definitely was a lifetime ago. All right, shuffling, unless it's a different Kate. That's funny though. So I know her name is Dorothy, but I'm seeing the ruby red shoe, the red slippers. Dorothy from Wizard of Oz.
Kate is saying yes, it is.
Hello, Kate. All right, let's see what we got here. I want you to be happy. Well, this is so interesting because I know that when people are no longer here in the 3D, our lives are turned upside down. And depending on who it was and how much time we spent with them, and our lives are even more upside down, and sometimes for a very long time they're upside down, and things just they never go back quite the same way. They never quite fit back. But one thing, I think this was coming up so much today, and I know it's things that we've talked about in past Mondays together, is that it's the memories that we share that help keep the love alive. And so, Kate, and I believe you've written at least one book, maybe more, if I'm remembering correctly. But I'm just getting chills, but I feel like there's also a connection with Dorothy that either came through a book or will be coming through, or helps take you away into story time. So I feel like, just breathing in. I want you to be happy and think of all the happy times, the happy stories that we shared. So, well,
So Kate, what I was receiving, very much love there between you and Dorothy. I have no idea what the relationship is. But what I was first shown was a white flower. and I was getting very fragrant. And the flower name that came to me was the plumeria. Hawaii, you see the plumerias, and they're white and I think a yellow center, but very fragrant. And I was seeing that flower, but without the yellow in the center, which is interesting. The flowers that we see as signs from the ethereal realm do not always match up to, oh, it's a rose, oh, it's an iris. It's not necessarily like that. So it was looking like a plumeria, smelling like a gardenia. I mean, just so fragrant. And she tucked that behind your ear, and she kissed you on the right cheek and went like this down your nose. I mean, it was very intimate, almost mother, I don't know, mother, sister, whatever, but it was very intimate. But that kiss on the cheek and that finger down the nose, just so sweet between the two of you. Anything else for Kate along those lines?
Just the gentleness. It's almost like the scent of the flower was very light, and so was the touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much love there. So much love there. Yeah, it feels like that's one of those relationships that has happened several times. That's not a first time that relationship has happened. So, and not everybody believes in alternative lifetimes, or some people call them past lifetimes. But your relationship with Dorothy would have had different names in other relationships, other times. It's not a new relationship. We'll just put it that way. So Judy is watching and Kirsten is watching. If you all would like to receive a message from a loved one, please put that name in the chat and we'll take a listen there. And Kate, I would be curious to know, who was Dorothy to you in this lifetime, and what was that relationship like for you? Yeah, thank you. I want to go back to my Jean conversation. Jean, in this lifetime, she was very into the animals and protecting of the animals. She was a docent in our local zoo for 37 years. I mean, she donated hours and hours and hours to the zoo, to the animals. And so we knew that. She also had this amazing garden. And we put her home on the market, and all she cared about was what shape the garden was in, because whoever wanted to buy this house had to love the garden. And what I experienced with her 4 days after her passing, I was in meditation with dear friend Terry Angel, who Sue knows. And in meditation, we were shown Jean in the ethereal realm being prepared to come back and support us in this realm. She served as a light worker here in this realm, and as a light worker in the ethereal realm, she's got a job to do. And they were having her prepare for it already. So I wasn't seeing what we call a cocooning time where she's hanging out. No, they were preparing her to come back in and support. And she was, they had given her this beautiful, almost like a sash, but it was covered with amethyst stone. And the words I heard were the Order of the Amethyst. Now, I've heard of the Order of the Divine Rose, that kind of thing, but I had not heard of the Order of the Amethyst. And I saw that she was being prepared to come back and support animals and the flora here on planet Earth. So I just thought that was really interesting. Well, I've got a very large box of her jewelry here in my home, and I went back through it. I cannot believe how much of it is amethyst. And so I really do believe the work that we do here in this realm, we continue and we do the same work. And the message of the amethyst carrying from this lifetime to that lifetime I just think it's all fascinating, frankly.
It is. That is interesting. And I feel like, so like she had no cocooning. I think because her cocooning time was, I almost think that you two being together as much as you were, I think that helped. So she didn't have to have the cocooning time, if that makes sense. Because there is no time for her to, I mean, it's like, no, we gotta get right. And I'm not saying that she's coming right back into the, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying get right to it is right, because it's definitely needed for especially if she's going to be taking care of the plants and the animals. That's beautiful.
Well, and I think there is so much support from the ethereal realm. That support does not always come back into a 3D body. They can serve us from there. I mean, look at all the ascended masters.
Yep.
Most of whom were in body here, but they're not necessarily back here in body, but boy, are they working to support us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. So let me see. We've got a couple messages here. Lisa, welcome. If you want to receive a message from a loved one, please let us know. Kate had shared a couple things. She said, let me see. Kate said, since she was 8 years old, the family was the mom, Kate, and her brother. That dad had passed in an accident, which left just the three of us. So now there's only just Kate and her brother. So, yeah, she said, Mom visits me almost every night when I'm sleeping. Yeah, intimacy was obviously very noticeable. Yes, okay. Kirsten would like a message from Donovan. Kirsten Waldron would like a message from Donovan.
That's a cool name, actually. I don't know that I've ever heard that name before. Donovan. Sounds very regal. That's not a word that I think I've ever used before. Forgiveness is important. Wow. This is such a powerful, forgiveness is one of those things that it's like, it is so important, and people don't realize that forgiveness doesn't have anything to do with the other person. It's about ourselves. And I know for a long time with my mom passing, now keep in mind I was 13, but there was a part of me that felt guilty because I was the one that talked her into going for a horseback ride. It's like, well, it wasn't my fault that, so it wasn't that. And we get angry at the people that leave because it's like, hey, you left me. But forgiveness is, I know I heard this a long time ago, is thank you for giving me, fill in the blank, whatever the lesson is or whatever the love that came out of it. And I feel like there may be something, Kirsten, that, and I feel like it's almost like digging deep, that there is something that still needs to be maybe looked at a little bit either differently or a little bit going into meditation with, I feel like even going with Donovan into a meditation and just doing that releasing, whatever that means for you, because I feel like it will help lighten you just a little bit. Enlighten as in, because I feel like there's a heaviness with that you're feeling, and it'll help lighten that a little bit. So you'll have to let me know if that makes sense. That's pretty heavy, but I think pretty profound.
Sue, you and I have been doing this. We're in our second year. You have never said that. Yeah.
Never said what?
Well, just like there needs to be more work done around that. I mean, usually these are pretty complete in themselves without a need for follow-up. So that's intriguing. What I had seen Kristen was, and I have no idea who Donovan was to you, but I am reminded how I view things is that before we come into this lifetime, we've got our soul people that we're having conversation with, and we decide before we come in what role we're going to play in each other's lives. And sometimes people play those roles so well that it makes us hate them or, just think, oh, they ruined my life. And we forget that they were here to teach us things because they play that role so very well. Donovan, how he showed to me was like the annoying little brother who's trying to get your attention, trying to get in your space, playing with your things, but very much a distraction and pay attention to me. And so I can just picture you and Donovan before you came into this lifetime, regardless of what position he was in your life, that his role was that of getting your attention, making life difficult for you. And I think he probably played that role well, whether it was big annoyances or small annoyances. So I don't know, that was just the vision, was the little brother get in your face kind of role. So I would be very interested, Kirsten, who Donovan was to you. And if you're able to envision any life lessons that you learned by having Donovan there. He was a boyfriend in college. We were together for 6 months. He did play that role very well. There we go.
That's pretty funny.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Very funny. Well, and then you wonder, okay, so if there are other lifetimes that you've been together, what other roles has he played for you in alternate lifetimes? Right? It's always intriguing when you look at it that way. Let me see. Lisa Phillips says, any messages for me today? She would appreciate a message, but she's not sharing from who. So it might be a spiritual message, might be from the angels. We'll see. Who is coming in for Lisa Phillips?
It's always interesting when we're doing this, because I always feel like this room is full of not only angels, but all of these different people. Take me. All right, Lisa, let's roll that. Ooh, trust in yourself. I do. So this is one of those where it's like when you see something, or it's like, oh, I wonder if, it's like, take that wonder as in, what was your first instinct? Because when you go, oh, I wonder if, it discounts what you initially felt. So look at, instead of, oh, I wonder, it's like, oh, what did I feel? And turn that around and look at, okay, what was the emotion that came up? What was the thing that I just saw? What was the thing that I just heard? And who was I thinking about? Or what was I thinking about? Did I have a question in my mind? Whether it was from a question about an angel coming in, or a spirit guide coming in, or somebody on the other side coming in. And whatever it is that's going through your mind, your heart, your feeling, and then all of a sudden you get this information, trust your first instinct. So instead of saying, I wonder if that was, say, thank you very much. And please, send me clarification or send me another sign. But thank you very much for that sign, that message, because I know that it was you. So I feel like there's a really big trust in yourself, because I think I almost get the feeling that maybe you're just opening up to different things, and trusting in your own instincts is a big step.
Lisa said her guides speak loudly. There's so much. That's such a packed message, Lisa. I could go on for half an hour on that alone. So Lisa, what I had seen is it's not different than what Sue saw. Usually they dovetail, and I'm not seeing the dovetail on this one today, which is interesting to me. What I saw, picture an old TV from like the 1950s, black and white versions. And I saw, it felt like a grandma and a grandpa, but it's somebody you have not seen for a long time, somebody you haven't maybe even thought of for a long time. And it was like they were looking into this TV set, like wiping off the front and going, look, we can see her. Oh, look. So they're up in the ethereal realm looking down at you through this old-timey TV set, and they can see you. And I think the reason that they were wiping it off is because it's been quite a while since they've seen you, or even since you've thought of them. And Sue and I were talking last time about how when we think of those that have passed on, it keeps them a little more current in our communication with them. And this couple just feels like it's been quite a while. So I would say if there's someone that you have loved and lost and haven't thought of for a while, put them into your consciousness. I just think it kind of helps the energy stay closer to us when we do this. So I'm just curious who this grandma and grandpa feeling couple are, but they were so excited to see you again. So I don't know. Thoughts on that, Sue?
The visual that I got just at the very tail end was, when, and you're probably doing this with your friend, but when you're going through somebody's house, so going through grandma's house or going through, and there's a box of old photos, and you're going through, and it's like, who is this person? Or who is this person? Or, oh, wow, I remember, but maybe you were really young when they passed away. So I got that visual of going through this old box of photos, and maybe not even you being the one to remember. You might have to ask, I always had to ask my brother Steve, who's on the other side now. It's like, who is this again? Because he remembered. He remembered all these relatives, and I certainly didn't. So I had that just flash.
Yeah. Lisa said, I think of and speak to my grandparents always. My grandmother is one of my guides. So here's what I would like you to do, Lisa. I'd like you to broaden who might be serving as a grandmother, grandfather figure. It doesn't mean necessarily bloodline ancestor. Just broaden and be open to broader interpretations of these things, if that makes any sense. Sometimes folks will come through and you go, it feels like it could be an aunt, but it doesn't mean it's a bloodline aunt. It could be somebody who cherished you in that way, who was older than you. So just food for thought. Lisa said, I didn't know my paternal grandparents. That could be who it is. Yeah. Someone who served, the love of a grandparent, typically, the hallmark love of a grandparent is one who just loves you unconditionally. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in real life, those relationships are much more complicated. But the Hallmark grandparent, that's who I'm feeling for you, is the Hallmark grandparents who loved you unconditionally, whoever that is.
Well, the other thing too, I told you I was listening to some of the 9/11 stories today. And one that really struck me was, it was a younger woman, and I was more listening than watching. And she sounded very young to me. I mean, everybody looks young to me anymore, but she sounded very young to me. And she was going through and explaining how this person, who was a college roommate of hers 22 years ago, how the impact has come forward, and how many people that they had a scholarship from the high school, and they had something else from the college, and her niece and her nephew were doing this. And I'm thinking, and I'm getting chills on this. So her niece and nephew, I wouldn't think that they would have ever known her. Maybe they would have, but to me, age-wise, it doesn't seem like that. So what you're talking about, Ruth, makes so much sense. And I was just struck by that this morning, because it's like, wow, talking about the impact of your aunt, never having known them because you weren't born yet. Amazing.
Yeah. I have heard beautiful stories of before a baby is born, that they're held by the ancestors before they ever come in. Goosebumps on that. Yeah.
Yeah, because if a person leaves before the baby is born, don't think that they didn't meet. And see, there go the chimes, because they absolutely did. I love that they held them before they passed them on down.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. So Lisa just shared, my dad who raised me, I knew his mother's name was Mary. She had said she was wondering if it was, let me find the names here. Max and Sarah. And I got a yes to Max, but a no to Sarah. So I don't know. Okay. And then she said, I just found out my dad that raised me wasn't my father, not your sperm donor father. Yeah, he was your father. He fathered you. He wasn't the sperm donor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll get answers to all of those things. May not be while you're in body, but you will get answers to all of those things.
Well, and the other thing is, this came out a long time ago, probably 20 years ago now, maybe 15 years ago, in a meditation for me, that my mom had a miscarriage in between. I can't remember, but it was, and it was another girl. So
I thought it was a girl. Yeah.
And I can't remember when it seemed like it was old. It would have been older than me. So maybe it was like right before I was born, because I was only, my brother and I's birthday are only a couple days apart. So there wasn't much time there. So it might have been even before that. But so, yeah, we don't know, because if my mom would have never, and maybe she never knew that the miscarriage even happened. Because if it was so early in a pregnancy, you might not even know that.
Right.
So it's interesting.
But you know what? I see you as little Susie holding her. So I think even on a spirit level, there was that connection.
And so that almost, and as you say that, that's almost that she would have come after me.
just saying you two know each other.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. I did always like dolls though. When I was a kid, I liked the big dolls, the big ones that were the size of a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is, because our souls are so much more than we are.
Well, and two, just even seeing you as a little girl, her spirit could come to you as a baby.
Mhm.
You don't have to go, oh, well, she would have been older than me. So,
That's right. That's my logical brain getting in there. But yeah, especially because if she was a baby, she never, developed. But it's interesting because my brother Chris, so he was 4 when he died. I see him in his, probably in his 20s, and he's always wearing a white coat, like he's a dentist, and not a doctor. I don't get that he's a doctor. I get that he's a dentist. It's like, that's so interesting. That's how I almost, either I see him as, there's a couple of pictures that I just absolutely love of him. I either see him in that image or I see him as a dentist. And that he's not even holding any dentist tools. He's in that white coat. It's like, oh yeah, he's a dentist.
so that makes you go, oh, was that what he was to me in a different lifetime? Or is that he's wanting to present? Yeah, well, Jeannie did tell me that she was going to be presenting as a beautiful younger woman. Yeah, I do think we get to choose when we're in the ethereal realm. We get to choose what we want to present. And I have seen so many times that it's somebody that's like in their 20s, 30s. I don't know, I've seen that so much. It seems to be a popular. It's like
I've heard that.
the sweet spot, I guess.
Yeah, that sweet spot.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. Oh, Kate wanted you to know. She said, you're correct. She has written books. The one that you may remember is From the Edges of 9/11. She said, interesting that this should come up today.
I did not know that, Kate. Oh my gosh, because I thought it was a children's book that you had written.
Well, she has written books, multiple books.
Kate, I didn't know that. And I'm getting such chills on that. Such chills. Say the title again, Edges of 9/11.
From the Edges of 9/11.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, major chills on that. And it is because Kate, I think you've only been one other time that I remember. So it's like, oh yeah, very interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
One other thing about Jeannie that came to mind, as I said, she loved her gardens. And I was in her garden yesterday with 2 other friends, and we were standing in front of this huge potted plant talking, and this hummingbird came and just was hanging around that pot. I mean, we were literally like 3 feet from it. I don't know of hummingbirds coming and being that comfortable hanging around. And then at one point it just stopped fluttering and just looked at us. It was like, hi, Jeannie. we all just felt her presence so strongly. She was an artist. She used to paint hummingbirds. It was just the perfect way for us to acknowledge that feels like her energy right there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've had, I never associated one of my grandmas with hummingbirds, but a couple times I've had a hummingbird, and for no reason, come literally within 2 feet of my face, looking right at me, hovering. And it's like, I do not have anything red on my face, so they don't think I'm a flower, just hovering. And I knew it was my grandma. Yeah. Absolutely. Hummers are pretty funny.
Yeah, that's sweet. Very sweet. Kate said yes, for children's books. So yes, you were right.
Yeah, I didn't know about the 9/11. I did not. Wow. That's amazing.
I'm guessing, Kate, that might be available on Amazon. We'll just do a little
Yeah, we'll just put a plug in. Kate Stormer. Check out Amazon. Books by Kate Stormer.
from the edges of 9/11. Yes, interesting. All right. Well, Sue, anything else you would like to add today, or does this feel like a good time to wrap things up here?
I just want to, again, going back to just listening to some of the stories today and all the different ages, and I didn't hear that many people, but the different ages of people. And so 22 years back, so you think about the age, whether they knew the person, whether it was a mother or a father or a child or, the stories that we tell, the stories that we share is what keeps them alive in our hearts. It just brings joy to them, but it also brings comfort to us. And if you're in a grieving space, the stories might seem like they're going to bring more grief, and yet they bring a lightness, just a little bit more light through the grief. So share the stories.
Well, that's beautiful, Sue. And a reminder that sometimes you have to really walk through the grief in order to get to the lightness. But don't hold yourself back from doing it, because it's all important work. That processing is so important for our growth and our ability to move forward.
Yes.
Last message on Kate and her books. It says no longer on Amazon, but we'll send you a copy. She said, can get your address when Judy talks to you later. So I think that's probably for you. But friends, if you were wanting to find Kate's book, reach out to her in Facebook Messenger. We know she's on Facebook, Kate Stormer. She'll help you with that. So friends, thank you so much for being here today. And Sue, thank you so much for this time today. If friends want to purchase the cards that you've been working with, how do they do that?
Go to my website, SueBroome.com. You can sign up for a service with me, or you can sign up for any of the decks of cards. I have 3 decks of cards, but this is the one that we use today, the messages from your loved ones. That my brothers helped, especially Steve, who had just transitioned. Came mainly from him. So SueBroome.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Friends, take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.